So are you only looking at Florida or are you looking at other states? And what are some key benefits of going to Florida if you did the research on there?
Yeah, well, first off is I probably would be moving out there myself.
Uh-huh.
I'm not moving to Arizona. I'm not moving to Texas. So I'll tell you that. I'm not saying those are bad states, but I'm a very like outgoing person. I love to be in the water. I love to fish. I love to jet ski. I love to boat. Not a lot of boating in Texas, right? I'm sure they have their lakes, but in Florida, I think it would really fit, my vibe and kind of like the things that I really stand behind. Those 2 years, we bought a total of 11 trucks, all cash for write-off reasons. So that can, relay to you how well we did from, A, B to C, D. So the growth was super exponential, and it kind of went from, where we are right here to just really taking up. I think a big contributor to that was me walking away from the business as an actual mover and actually being a delegator and managing the company from a business perspective.
Right. Good. Good. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like everybody has that time where they got to hustle. They got to grow the business. They got to get their hands dirty. I was almost very similar to that as well, too. And, you got to go through, like you said, the gutter, and you got to, build it from there. What are some of your key strategies that you find that's helped the business grow?
Yeah, I would say a big one is definitely culture. Even with the sales guys we have, everyone we have is super extroverted, and that's our business model, right? We don't want to have. I mean, quiet kids are cool, but when you deal with people on a day-to-day basis, you kind of have to put yourself out there, right? We don't want someone to kind of keep their head down the whole time. We want them to engage with the customer. We want them to pretty much create a very happy and lively environment. So everyone that we hire pretty much is an outgoing individual, and our sales guys especially are super like hyper and hyphy, so they're like on top of it. I would say my sales or my contributor to like what I really focus on is the customer, and I say that because I used to do the phone calls myself, and when I would get a phone call, the customer, after having a good conversation with me, they would say, I like the company, but what I really fell in love with is you. And I'm not the most attractive guy, so I know it's not me. They can't see me, so it's got to be my personality. So I try to make that contagious, and I try to keep that within the company, so that outgoing spirit, greeting the customer, showing them respect they deserve, and just really trying to connect with people from all walks of life to make them feel like you've known them for a decade.
Exactly. I feel the energy right now. You came in here super energetic, and that just rubs off. I could see how that would rub off on you and your employees. Now, as far as your hiring process, you said that you try to find people that are extroverted. Mm-hmm. How is your hiring process? Because I know with my company, it's super hard to find that right person. We've gone through so many people that turnover is super high in this industry, and that's just normal. What do you do differently as far as your hiring process?
Yeah, great question. So I'm a Christian. So a lot of or the current guys we have are either from church, they're friends from some sort of religious institute, whether it's Bible college or any kind of college, and a lot of them are family and cousins. So what we focus on is we also focus on their morals, which kind of reflects on what we believe as a vision for the company. So I would say is how we really find guys is a big one is word of mouth, and another one is kind of putting yourself out there, going to youth events, going to church events where there is, our preferred customer base for who we want to hire as far as like employees, and we kind of network with them. Well, we sponsored a few trips for some folks, and that kind of puts us, on the board when it comes to like, someone looking for a job, if it's a college student or if it's someone that's, looking for temporary work for the summer or whatever the deal is.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good. Yeah. For us, we typically go through like Indeed or, we go through like ZipRecruiter, some of the basic stuff, but we've come to find out that the employees that stay the longest are pretty much referrals from other movers. So let's talk about the fun stuff. Being an entrepreneur, there's so many ups, there's so many downs. I've gone through it. I'm sure everybody's gone through it. But tell us a little about some of your biggest obstacles that you faced being a moving company owner?
Yeah, I would say probably the toughest was delegation, and I would say finding a way to walk away from the company and kind of be like a ghost where I'm present. They know I'm in the room, but I'm not actually there. Like I said, I used to be a mover. I used to be a driver. I would answer the phone calls. I would do the estimates. I would buy the materials. I did everything. I wore every single hat. And as I grew, the hardest part was trusting others and finding a way to delegate everything I could do, right? Not saying they'll do a better job or a worse job, but it's my goal and it's my job as a business owner to make sure that they do the best job they possibly can. So if they're doing a bad job, it's always my fault, right? You have to learn how to take accountability for anything that happens in the company, good or bad, right? Truck flips, it's your fault. You should have hired a driver that's more competent or done more training. So I would say always taking accountability and learning how to delegate and how to, I would say, find a way to just walk away. And if someone could do estimates, let them do estimates all day long. If someone wants to do sales, let them do sales, and you walk away. If you have to change something, address them, have a chat, and do it that way. But just finding a way to not have the business own you, but you own the business.
Yep, that's totally true. I've seen a lot of people, they're in the business, they're stuck in the business, and it's just so hard for them to get out of the business because they're just working, doing so many things for the business. Like you said, wearing multiple hats. But again, in the beginning, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you, play all the roles, and then you understand the roles, so then you could delegate it to everybody else.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean that I was a victim of that mindset up until last year. So trust me, I was in that same loop where I felt like I could do everything, and I still feel like I can still do everything. But the issue with that is, you don't want to be a hero, right? We always tell our guys, don't be a hero, right? Don't try to lift a refrigerator by yourself. Don't be a hero. If you have someone that can help you, use your resources. Same thing. If you have a company, if you have the resources, you have the stability to actually hire someone, do it. And if you actually have a growth mindset, which I hope most of you guys do, you originally or potentially want to go ahead and scale and focus on things that are, more of your, I would say, expertise, right? Sales is pretty easy to replace once you have a script and a system and a process. When it comes to scaling a company, you can't just have any, schmuck do it. It takes experience, it takes time, and it takes a lot of lessons, a lot of errors, and just, trials. So I would say is, for me, where I'm at right now in this stage is walking away from the current business in the sense of like being a micromanager and finding a way to just have everyone take care of their particular role, like an assembly line, delegate from a third eye perspective, and focus on an additional branch and focus on scaling that company and kind of building another crew from there on.
Good. That's great. That's great to hear. So now that you're, essentially delegating, what does your day-to-day kind of look like now?
Good question. Good. Recently, I've been chilling a lot, so
you need to, right? You
yeah.
got to take a little break every now and then.
And you're right. So I would say in this season, because it's like a transition season, I'm very new to everything. I would say the hardest part is finding things for me to constantly do day in, day out, just because when you have a company that runs like a machine where you just click go and it just runs, there's nothing you have to do, right? People know what they have to do. There's certain tasks that have to get accomplished every day. So there's no delegation, I would say, needed on a day-to-day basis. It's cool to check in, but I would say right now what I'm doing is I'm applying for different business licenses, working on a lot of paperwork, and pretty much doing a lot of research to see what would be the best second and third location to launch.
Gotcha. So launching a second and third location, what are some of the plans that you kind of got, going into the future? Are you looking to do something in California? California, we all know that it's super hard to work in California. Or are you looking to do something out of state? How does that kind of look like to you?
Yeah, great question. I would say where I'm at currently is I definitely want to explore another state, only because of a lot of the rules and regulations that we have currently set in place, the taxes, and on top of that, just the current market, right? If you live in California, you probably know, viewer, that California has had a massive exodus. So as we were doing really, really well, I would say post-COVID, we moved out all of our customers.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's like a double-edged sword, right? It helped us in the moment, right? It benefited us in the time being, but when it came down to it, 2 years later, you kind of see the effects of the exodus. So I would say right now I'm looking to explore states that are, I would say, that have the volume and the potential that aren't really affected by seasonal changes. Like in California, if there's a droplet of rain, everyone freaks out on the freeways, and there's no more. The economy shuts down. And other states like Florida, rain is a typical day-to-day obstacle you have to face. So I would say where I have my eyes is probably Florida, and just like I would say general like western side of Florida to be particular.
Hey guys, if you really like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. This will help the channel grow drastically. Share this to 5 different people that you think can benefit from it. Now back to the video. So are you only looking at Florida, or are you looking at other states? And what are some key benefits of going to Florida if you did the research on there?
Yeah, well, first off is I probably would be moving out there myself. So I'm not moving to Arizona. I'm not moving to Texas. So I'll tell you that. I'm not saying those are bad states, but I'm a very outgoing person. I love to be in the water. I love to fish. I love to jet ski. I love to boat. Not a lot of boating in Texas, right? I mean, I'm sure they have their lakes, but in Florida, I think it would really fit, my vibe and kind of like the things that I really stand behind. So I would say, plus our guys, right? If I can't find, guys there in an instant, I can have a crew that's willing to relocate from California, go to Florida, and have them live out there and kind of work, right? But the majority of our guys are younger. They're college students. So to convince someone to leave California to go to Texas is much tougher than going to Florida. So that's kind of where we're at.
Gotcha. That's great. I mean, yeah, the weather in Florida is crazy. Besides hurricane season, I went to Miami for my birthday in June, and I didn't know that was hurricane season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good. That's good. So now tell me, when you do that, what are you planning to do with your location in Sacramento?
Yeah, so what the current location here is, we're training our sales guy, because what I've seen is with our current guy that we onboarded is we don't only see him as a sales guy, because from the get-go, we were asking him certain questions like, do you want to just do sales? What's your commitment term? And he said that I'm looking to grow in the company and pretty much start from sales is kind of work my way up. So he's someone that is currently doing sales, but I'd say initially he will be the one that manages the whole operation. The more experience he becomes with the moving industry, and he'll just end up hiring someone else that could, do sales and so on and so forth. So I would say our biggest play right now is having him, I would say, wear every single hat of the company, learn how everything works, and then have him delegate out accordingly and kind of shadow. Sort of like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mr. Beast, how he trained his
of course.
stunt, double, sort of the same way, right? I want to have him shadow me. He goes with me. He drives, he goes to Starbucks with me. He does everything I do, goes to the gym just to see how my life works and how I operate. And then he picks up on my antics, things I say, things I do, my hand gestures, my face, everything I do. I want him to be a copy of me. And once he has that locked in, and he can put a twist on it, but I want to have him first replicate what works and put a spin on it.
Gotcha. That's great. Yeah, no. That's basically like having an owner-operator there.
Yes.
Essentially, they're in the day-to-day, and they have skin in the game, and they're making sure that everything is running, smoothly, just as if you were there. So you're basically duplicating yourself, which is, hard to do.
Yeah. No, I tell people all the time, if I could duplicate myself, I'd be in a better position than I am today. But no, that's the goal, is duplicate myself, right? I don't want to have, I don't want to be a dictator and have them do everything I believe in, but just replicate what works, right? And if they want to put a twist on something, feel free, right? So I believe in systems, I believe in processes, and that's what we're focusing on, is having a certain system, how we operate, having a process of how we do certain things, and then if there needs to be a spin or a twist on it, we can evolve accordingly.
Great. How does your structure look like now?
Yeah, so right now we have a full-time mechanic. He also does he does a lot of our moves as well. So he does all our maintenance on the trucks. He does the oil changes. He does any kind of issues when there's problems with brakes, a liftgate that's leaking, anything super minor like that. He takes care of.
And he's a mover.
He's a mover too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a double dipper.
So let me ask you this: so is he on a salary, or you pay him hourly for doing the mechanic stuff, or how does that kind of work?
Yes. So with hourly, he makes way less than if he does mechanic work for us or works on our trucks. So we try to make it almost like as if he has his own business. So what we do is we pay him per project, like per an oil change. For instance, if he works for 5 hours or 10 hours that day, he's maybe going to make $200-300 at most, right? With an oil change, he'll make $200 in one oil change, and that takes him half an hour. So his potential isn't limited with the mechanic side. So he loves the fact that he has that kind of flexibility where he has consistency and he has, his the mechanic aspect of it where he really makes all the big bucks.
Gotcha. So how about the other people in your organization? What
Yeah,
else do you have there?
for sure. So we have crew leads, we have managers, we have guys that audit all the activity in the trucks. And we have an interesting system where we issue rewards and violations and penalties for things that go well and go wrong. For instance, if I find a piece of paper in the truck the night before, and it's in that truck, and I wasn't part of that crew, I get a bonus for finding that piece of trash. And that violation doesn't go to the company, it goes in my pocket. What that does is that creates a system of pretty much discipline and cleanliness. Same thing is if I get a good review, or if I have a happy customer, I get rewarded. So for there to be a reward system, there has to be a punishment system. So what our guys do is they get big bonuses for five stars, and they get big degrades and punishments for 1 stars and low reviews. Same thing goes with cleanliness, right? We expect a certain level of excellence. So if you can't do the basics and make sure the truck is clean, there's no trash, you're not leaving your 7-Eleven Tostito rolls or your Red Bull, all the trash is out of the truck, so the other crew isn't digging through all your garbage, then you're gonna get penalized, right? And what that does is it's not really like snitching, but the guys have an incentive to make sure that they clean up all their mess because they know if someone else spots that they did something that wasn't supposed to be done, that they get a bonus for it. So everyone really watches, their shoulders and their backs to make sure that they pretty much, don't get hit with the penalty.
So you're pretty much building a really strong culture where everybody, essentially cares.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that's really hard to do because I've come to find out that we've, tried to build the culture, but, we always got a cycle. There's always a cycle of getting guys in, getting new guys in, especially whenever we come to summer, we hire 10, 15 more guys and, try to get them locked in on that culture as well too. But that's great. That's really great that you got that going on there. Now, let me ask you this. I'm a huge marketing guy. I love sales. I love everything about marketing, crazy things, that works, some things that don't work. What marketing piece or what marketing source have you found the most successful? I know that during, COVID, end of COVID, end of last year, it was just booming, right?
Yeah.
It was super, super booming. But now we really have to pivot and I don't know if it's just for our market or if it's for other markets as well too, but there's data, all across the country that it's slowed down, a lot. So what have you done and what have you found the most successful in your marketing?
For sure, yeah. So we, as well as most of the country, have seen a good 26 to 27% dip in all of our sales, which is massive.
Massive.
So what we've done is the two things that I've done to completely change that is I became really, really, really aggressive with how we implement the follow-up process and how actively we connect with our customers. So if someone calls me today, they're getting a call back today with the follow-up. So what we really preach is follow-up. As far as marketing, I would say our best source right now is Google Guaranteed. We've tried, I would say in our very beginning stages, we used Thumbtack, and that was good. And a lot of those customers are just super cheap. Then we went to Equate Media, Quote Runner, and just buying leads from Billy.com, and that was good. And then that kind of, withered away. And then we transitioned to trying Angie's List. That was good. That kind of withered away. And right now where we're at is Google Guaranteed. PPC is also good, but I would say the most motivated customers are definitely the Guaranteeds. Guaranteed always puts you at the tipsy top. And the way to stay on top is to, first off, always answer your phones and to have high rankings, which we have, all of the above.
That's great. Yeah, for Google Guarantee for us has not worked at all. I think we were talking before this. What did you say that you did that was, that had helped out with you guys at least?
With the Guaranteed?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with Guaranteed is, it's interesting algorithm. What I would definitely suggest is having a really good SEO company that knows how to push you to the tipsy top ranks of Google besides a Guaranteed. So once you establish a good presence with Google, Google already knows who you are and they have that muscle memory. So what they do is when you open up a Guaranteed page or a Guaranteed account, they can see that, hey, this company has been at the tipsy top in a particular algorithm. So when we put them into the guaranteed network, what we could do is we can focus on pushing them to the tipsy top, right? Google doesn't care about companies, that care about their customers, and their customers aren't us, it's the consumer. So they want to recommend the best possible options for the consumers. So if you're a company that has low ratings, or if you don't have proper SEO work done, you're going to be the tipsy bottom. So what I do is I focus on having really high quality companies that could, build our SEO platform and then elevate us to the tipsy top. And on top of that, I would say really focus on getting really high reviews from
Gotcha.
actual customers that are guaranteed by Google.
Yeah, that's big. That's really, really big. So, what does the future look like for you and you move in 5 years and 10 years?
Yeah, interesting. Thing is if you would ask me this a few years ago, I would have said I probably would have been doing this for another year and then done real estate. But looking at the trajectory now, I see a lot of potential. And especially considering the fact that I'd say cracked the code to really what you need to do to start up a location. I would say the hardest would be the first maybe few months, just really getting your word, the word out there and knowing that you exist. The goal is to, within the next 5 years, probably have at least another, I'd say 3 locations that are all at least at like 200-300 reviews at pop. It's really hard to get ratings, right? Even companies that have been in the business for 10, 20 years have under 100 reviews.
What are you doing right now to get reviews?
Yeah, so our biggest play is our guys, like I mentioned previously, they get a bonus for every review they get. So if they make, say, $20 an hour, but they get $20 per review that they get, and that's one for Google, one for Yelp, one for our other account on Google, and then one for the Better Business Bureau, that's $80 they can make from one customer each.
Got it.
So it's in their best interest to ask for those reviews, get those customers to leave those reviews because they can make an additional $80 per move. So I would say it's really focusing on the movers to do their job and ask the customers, do whatever it takes to get that review and get that 5-star rating.
Are you doing anything to incentivize the customers? Like, how do they know to go on Yelp or Google or whatever it is to add that review? Do you guys have like a QR code or anything like that?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know if we pressure them into it, but it's kind of like when you go and add, like when you're at a Dutch Bros and you're asking them for a drink and they kind of swing the screen on you and give you the tip option.
Yeah.
We do the same thing, go with the reviews. The move was great, leave us a review. And the guys kind of, they can help the customer with the review if that's an elderly customer or someone that's just a senior citizen that's not familiar with technology. What we do is we help them go on Google, show them where it's done, type in you move, and then have them leave their review and their experience. So what we do is we really focus on, by the end of the move, if everything goes great, having them and guiding them on how to leave that review. So there's no incentives we offer them besides, another great move or a discount for their next move if they decide to use our company.
Gotcha. What we've come to find out that was really beneficial is we actually have business cards with QR codes on there because we have multiple Google My Business locations. So there's different locations that we want us to focus on. So right now we're building out our Santa Clara location, San Jose, and we have a QR code because once you look us up on Google, there's multiple locations on there. So we have the QR code. They just scan it and it's just right then and there. I've come to find out too is that Google keeps your reviews on there. I found out that Yelp takes your reviews off. I don't know if you've had that experience.
Yeah. I mean, all of our reviews on Yelp, I don't know if they have something against us, but they constantly remove our reviews. I mean, we'll have a customer leave 5-star, 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 and then next week they're all gone.
Unrecommended, right?
Yeah, they're not recommended. And I don't know if it's because we don't use them as a marketing venue. I'm not sure what the problem is, but the only company that's ever removed reviews is Yelp. With Google customers, they can see and they can verify customers and they leave reviews, whether it's a 1-star, 5-star, or a 3-star. With Yelp, they typically remove the 5 stars and only leave the negative reviews from my experience.
Yeah, I know a lot of people on the East Coast, they don't even use Yelp. Yelp's not even big on the East Coast. It's only big on the West Coast. And people are just so against it. I think they even made like a Netflix or like a Netflix movie about Yelp. And it's just crazy. It's crazy how they can just bully you if you don't pay them enough money and they'll just take off the reviews.
Yeah. I think I've seen that. And I think what the title was, $1 billion bully.
There you go.
So it's kind of messed up, and for our future locations, we won't even touch Yelp ever I suggest to anyone that wants to get in the industry, stay away from Yelp. They're a terrible company. By no means are they looking out for your greater good. With Google, you can at least dispute if you have a bot caller. With Yelp, if you have someone that's trying to sell you something or someone that's just a tire kicker, you're stuck with that customer and you're paying them whatever they charge for that particular lead.
Gotcha. So kind of coming, into this interview, I kind of like to ask questions outside of business, outside of work. So Dre,
Dre,
what
yeah.
do you like to do outside of work? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you said you like to fish and things like that. What do you find yourself doing now that you're, chilling a little bit more?
Yeah. Okay, you said that. No, I do have a girlfriend. She's actually on my screen protector. So
Screen
I do have a
protector, there you
girlfriend.
go. Represented.
Yeah. She's super gorgeous. Best thing that's happened to me. She helps me a lot with work. Believe it or not, I'm only 5, I think 6 or 7. I'm a short guy. And she's even shorter. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. And she's actually done a lot of moves with me. She does. I mean, I will just take her on moves, like little 2-3 hour unloads when we're bored. And I would tell her, hey babe, we have a little move. Do you want to hop on with me? And we just go to a customer's house and we're there unloading a U-Haul truck with you move shirts on and back straps and dollies. So she's a soldier. She helps me with she's a photographer too, so she does a lot of our photography to really give us that like cutting edge look. So we have those good photos for Google or for our other marketing venues, and then she just overall just helps with sometimes with calls, sometimes with just paperwork. If we have to have someone. If our crew forgot to get some materials, she'll run down some materials to them. So she's just a soldier that really, I guess, does a lot of the errands, but she's really helped me in that sense. She doesn't, nag me and annoy me, which is, a lot of girls need attention, but she understands that this is temporary. It's kind of like, you plant a seed, you water it, and then you're going to have a tree that's going to bear fruit a few years from now. So she understands that. She has a growth mindset. She also does photography as her primary business. So she understands the responsibilities you need to pretty much have as a business owner and the kind of time it takes. As far as like hanging out goes, pretty much spending most of my time with her. I did have 2 jet skis that I recently just sold because the season was over and because I really racked up a lot of hours on them. I love boating. I love like kneeboarding. I love wakeboarding. I love fishing. I do a lot of fishing. I go to like Sacramento has a lot of rivers and ponds. So I do a lot of like bass fishing, striper fishing. So that's a big one for me. I like spear fishing. I go to Santa Cruz every now and then with some of my buddies, and we just spearfish. Surfing when I can at Pacifica and to Santa Cruz, and I would say for the most part, even right now, I have my mountain bike with me in my car, so I go mountain biking a lot, just to kind of relax and do a lot of off-road stuff.
Nice. So going back to having that mutual partner that understands, you as an entrepreneur, because you have to have somebody there to support you. And I feel like, and from my experience, they have to be your peace at the end of the day, because there's so many things in the business that can happen. And going home to somebody that doesn't give you peace, it kind of screws up with your head. How beneficial do you think it is for you that you have a partner that understands you?
Yeah, no, I believe that home isn't only a place that you dwell in, it could be a person as well. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really crucial that after a crazy day, you're not faced with more craziness at home.
Right.
So you need to be around someone that can understand and they could see that, hey, my boyfriend, my soon-to-be husband, however they view you, can view you as a leader and as a partner that makes the proper decisions to lead the family eventually into the next season, right? And a lot of younger girls especially, they need someone that can constantly text them and Snapchat them and do all these little kid things that are cool in the moment, but long term it's super relevant. So of course, I don't want you to ghost your girlfriend for 3 days, but at the same time is you want to keep in touch with her. You want to let her know, hey, like for instance, I told her, hey, I'm going to this interview, so she called me today. I was texting her, and then here I am right now. So just communication is key, but having someone that could understand you and at least someone that has a business mindset is crucial in my opinion. I've talked to other girls, I've seen other girls, and I was very careful about who I was choosing as my partner for that reason, right? If you have someone that has that employee mindset, which is there's nothing wrong with that, but a 9-to-5 mindset, 9-to-5er mindset has a 9-to-5 mindset, right? They work from 9 to 5, then they chill after, right? When you have a business mindset, you work 5 to 9, right? It could be crazy. So it's 24 hours a day, and when you can have someone that understands that, I think that's one of the keys to success in any business.
Yeah, I think long term that is the key to success. If you plan to have a partner, I will say.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Favorite food. So I eat a lot of sushi. I go to Mikuni in Sacramento.
Okay.
I love Mikuni, and I do love seafood. So like crab and lobster, mostly because I go harvest them myself. So I'd say crab, lobster, and just sushi in general.
Do you read any books? And if you do, what's one book an entrepreneur should read?
Yeah, what really put me on, and this is like super cliche. Everyone said this, but Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's
Yeah.
the last guest that was on here. He said the same exact thing. What did you find so beneficial about reading that book?
You know what? The word brainwash has a very negative connotation, but I feel like to get into business and to get into this sort of lifestyle, you have to brainwash yourself and pretty much it's almost like shed the skin that you previously used to wear and go for a new body. Same thing with your mind. You have to shed all that nonsense, all that stupidity, all those things that you were brainwashed to think as a young man or whoever pretty much taught you, and just pretty much encompass yourself in a business mindset around people that are business minded. So I know for me, what works is networking with other businessmen and a lot of YouTube. I'm big on YouTube University. That's my thing.
Yep.
Even driving here, I was watching a whole bunch of YouTube and just random stuff that might not be relevant now, but it's just cool to know about like companies and IPOs and all that. But I would say it's crucial that you brainwash yourself and that you pretty much understand what a liability is and what an asset is. And once you understand two of those things, I think you could really kind of just draw a line between those and
Decisions are different, right?
Yes, 100%.
Decisions are super different once you understand that. That's changed my perspective. I read that book as well too, and it changed my perspective on a bunch of things. What's one thing you would tell a person that's getting into the moving industry?
One thing I would
Don't
say...
get into it.
yeah, don't get into it. No, I've heard that. No, I would say with moving is understand before you get into any business what your plan is or what your exit strategy is, right? Understand why you're getting into it. If you're doing it for the money, like I used to go to community college for a few years. I was trying to be a nurse, right? I hate nursing. I did because my mom wants me to be a nurse, and they pay like 60, 70K a year, and that was my goal, right? I grew up super poor, so to me, 70K was like $1 million a year. So I thought, hey, I need to be a nurse. With that being said, is don't do something just because you see the profits or you have friends that have Rolexes or drive nice cars. I would say do it because you actually like it or you understand that, hey, I might do this for X amount of years and I plan on exiting or I plan on selling or I plan on scaling. So once you have that in mind, I would say then you could pretty much proceed accordingly. But I would say really focus on building out a team early on, and I would say finding a way to have people that are more, I'd say, expert than you to do things that are required. For instance, if you're not good at marketing, find a marketing guy. If you're not good at sales, find a sales guy. That's what I would suggest doing. Obviously, with any industry, I believe that you should lead from the front. I think before getting into the moving industry, you should know moving at least. If you're a mover, that would make sense. But just getting into it from the get-go, I probably recommend working for a company for at least a year.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And there you have it, guys. Dre with You Move, visiting from Sacramento. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.